What if the people closest to you are also the ones you hate the most? This book is brought ale. It is about family hatred, cruelty and resentment. Laid bare, no filters, no mercy. It was written in the 1930s, nearly a century ago, yet everything it describes feels disturbingly real today. That is why I strongly recommend it. The novel is 毒舌节 by François Mauriac, often described as a pathology report of the human soul. It exposes how selfishness, jealousy, and unspoken resentment can rot a family from the inside out. The story centers on Louis, an elderly lawyer in his late 60s or early 70s. Sensing that death is near, he decides to write a long letter to his wife, Isa, whom he has been married to for over 40 years. This novel is written as a mix of letters and diary entries, divided into two parts. And this letter is not an expression of love, it is an accusation filled with bitterness and hatred. Louis and Isa have lived under the same roof for decades, but their marriage is emotionally dead. They despise each other in silence. That suffocating resentment gives the entire novel a dark, oppressive tone. Albert Camus once said that Mauriac had the rare ability to turn the shameful, ugly parts of human nature into something almost poetic, and this book proves it. Louis comes from a humble background. His father died early and he was raised by a strong, calculating mother who built wealth through business. Thanks to her, Louis became a successful, wealthy lawyer, but emotionally he grew cold, isolated, and rigid. Isa, on the other hand, was born into a noble family that had fallen into decline. She didn't marry Louis for love. Pressured by her family and terrified of becoming an old maid, she accepted him for security and social respectability. After marriage, she admits to Louis that she once deeply loved another man, Rudolph, but believed he could never make her happy. That confession becomes the seed of everything that follows. Louis is deeply sensitive, proud, and insecure. From that moment on, jealousy and suspicion take over his inner life. He begins to imagine himself as unloved, unwanted, and constantly humiliated. He keeps a mental record of every slight, every cold gesture, every perceived injustice. Over time, he rewrites his entire family history from a single perspective, himself as the eternal victim. They have 3 children. After the children are born, Isa pours all her emotional energy into them and completely withdraws from her husband. The children slowly align with their mother and see their father as a hostile outsider. Only the youngest daughter, Marie, dares to approach him. She shows him affection and Louis clings to her as his last emotional refuge. But Marie dies young. With her death, Louis loses the only person onto whom he could project love. The family collapses into open hostility. Husband and wife blame each other. The house becomes a battlefield disguised as a home. At this point, money becomes Louis's final weapon. He is rich, but he turns into a miser, controlling the family through financial deprivation. His wife and children, in turn, form an alliance against him. When Louis overhears them discussing legal strategies to secure his inheritance, he feels vindicated. In his mind, this proves that they never loved him, only his money. Consumed by revenge, Louis plans his final act. He remembers a son he once had with another woman, a child conceived out of spite, meant to hurt Isa. Louis decides to leave his entire fortune to this illegitimate son and cut off his legal family completely. But this plan fails too. The son is weak, fearful, and morally unimpressive. Terrified of conflict, he secretly contacts Louis' legal children to negotiate a deal. Even this last attempt at revenge collapses. And now Louis is truly alone. Hatred has been the only thing holding his life together. Without it, there is nothing left. As death approaches, something shifts. The novel reaches its emotional climax on a stormy night, when Louis finally realizes the truth. Hatred and money were never his true desires. They were armor tools to protect his fragile self-worth. Deep down, he had always wanted love, understanding, and recognition, but he was too ashamed to admit it. Then Isa dies before him. At her funeral, Louis is stunned. 40 years of silent war ends instantly and meaningless like ALTHEHETREDECEAREFULLYNURTURIEFANDMPTINESSFOR. The first time he understands that the object of his hatred is gone, and with it, the identity he built around that hatred. While sorting through Isa's belongings, Louis discovers burned letters she never sent. He realizes that she, too, suffered in silence. She, too, chose not to unleash her resentment on the world. This is his awakening. He understands that he never truly tried to understand his wife or children. He judged them through the lens of his own paranoia and then used those judgments as justification for hatred. His entire life was a slow act of self-destruction born from the belief that he was unworthy of love. Mauriac does not write this story to excuse darkness, but to confront it. The knot of vipers ultimately returns to love, the difficult, humiliating, vulnerable act of learning to see others fully. That is why I recommend this novel even more than Camus' as The Fall. The Fall traps us in endless self-judgment. The Knot of Vipers asks whether love is still possible even after a lifetime of resentment, because in the end, the greatest tragedy is not hatred between people. It's spending an entire life believing you were never meant to be loved.